Hello, everybody. Mom, thanks very much for the subscription. Looks like you've been subscribed for 2 months, so that's awesome. We definitely appreciate it. As for how the planning is going, it just started. So, I mean, I guess that means it's going great because nothing has gone wrong yet. But sadly, schedules being what they are, they didn't quite line up tonight. So, instead of playing any Battletech, I'm going to be doing some of the crunchy grunt work, and, figured might as well hang out and chat and do all that stuff while I was doing it. So, um, that is kind of the plan for today. Or tonight, I suppose. How are you doing? Also, hello, Betty. How are you? Thank you for joining us as well. Streaming prep work is a great way to stay accountable. Yeah, agreed. I did it a while back. I did some campaign streaming, or some campaign planning stuff for a D&D game that I was doing, and it was on my channel, not this one. So it was a little bit slow, but I enjoyed it. It's been rough this week. Luckily, I took tomorrow off. Oh, Mom, I'm glad you've got tomorrow off. I'm sorry to hear work has been rough. That's never fun. Work is already work, so it shouldn't be even more problematic. All right, so let's see here. Last time, when we did play, we did a little training simulation for the new pilots to get everybody familiar with the fate rules that I'm cobbling together. And I mentioned that we didn't have any assault mechs statted out. I hadn't converted over any assault mechs, and I have changed that. So now I've got a couple of them that I am going to try and surprise our players with. We've got 2 assault mechs. We've got the Corsair, which is a pretty cool mech. It's sort of a Frankenstein mech. Technically, it isn't canon, according to Battletech lore. The Corsair actually came about through the MechWarrior Online MMO, and has kind of entered into some of the other video game arenas, like MechWarrior 5. It's in there, and it's in the Battletech turn-based game. But it's a lot of fun. I actually just picked one of these up in my MechWarrior 5 DLC playthrough that I'm doing right now, and I was surprised at how much I enjoyed piloting the mech. So it ended up being high on my list of assault mechs to prioritize. But yeah, like I said, Frankenstein mech, usually used by pirates and the like to, cobble together from a bunch of other mech parts, something that they can field against, more traditional militaries and mercenaries and stuff like that. And it is relatively scary for what it is. So I went ahead and put all the skills in all the different systems and whatnot. Being an assault mech, armor of course, high priority. Lots of weapon systems, different ranges. So you've got like ballistic is good short to long, energy is good at long but only fares short medium. So it's a little bit all over the place, but that's kind of what makes the Corsair fun. And it also makes it viable in an actual situation, because it's got a lot of different tricks and tools at its disposal. So it's got some LRMs, it's got some SRMs, it's got decent sensors. It's not a very fast mech, but it's an assault mech, so that's to be expected. So yeah, that was one of the things that I did earlier today. I also went ahead and put together the Atlas. I have not entered in the stats for that yet, but I've got them written out on my handy dandy notebook here. So I'm going to go ahead and plug those in so that it is ready to go when the time comes. And yeah, I mean, I heard you talking about the mech and rushed over and is now watching. Hey Marcus, welcome to the stream. I'm glad you are. I'm glad you're here, and feel free to chat Battletech with me, because I'm a huge Battletech nerd, and I love talking about it. So yeah, Atlas. Atlas is like one of the iconic 100-ton mechs for Battletech. It's actually not one of my favorites just because of the hype behind it, but it is actually a pretty good mech. Ever tried Chat GDP for helping with prep work? I have not. I've heard of it, but I've never tried it. Alisai, yes. Bachal! I've never watched that atrociously corny Battletech cartoon, but I need to. I've seen clips from it, and I know that like the trope or the meme is that like the clan leader is like constantly challenging people to a Bachal or whatever. For those of you who don't know Battletech very well, there are two main factions, two really big factions, and this is simplifying things a lot. But there's the clans and there's the inner sphere. The clans were kind of like they went into exile, like really far away from the inner sphere for a while, and then they came back with a bunch of really advanced technology and stuff like that, and tried to start a fight with the inner sphere. Didn't go great for either side, really. But anyways, the clans have like this weird cultural thing going on. Like it's very like kind of ritualistic, like warrior caste led hierarchy, and they've got this like personal challenge duel thing, and it's called a Bachal. So you've seen the first episode. I really should watch it. Battletech like Mech Assault. Ooh, that is a good question. What is Mech Assault? I am gonna say yes, because that looks like yes. So Mech Assault was I knew I recognized it. I played Mech Assault. It was actually a really good game for the original Xbox. And well, I don't know about really good. I enjoyed it a lot. Let me put it that way. Yeah, so it's the same universe as Mech Assault. I really shouldn't watch it. I know it's terrible. I'm well aware of that fact, but I still want to watch it just to say that I've watched it. Favorite take on the setting. I'll be honest. Back in 2002. That was long enough ago, I don't remember much about it, other than I enjoyed the game. So it's one of those things I would love to pick up and play again. Like, now that I'm a little bit more into the lore of Battletech than I was when I was younger and just kind of playing it because it was giant robots, I would like to go back and replay some of those games and kind of see what details I missed that I would appreciate now. But yeah, I remember that. I enjoyed it. So the Atlas. Let's do this. So for those of you who may be wondering, like, how I'm doing this conversion from actual Battletech over to the Fate system for the mechs, I am basically doing basically what I'm doing is I'm taking every mech's tonnage rating, dividing it in half, and then for clan mechs, I'm bumping it up to the next 5. So, for example, the Atlas is a 100-ton assault mech. I divide that in half, basically gives me 50 tons to work with. The rest of the 50 tons is assumed to be, critical systems like the engine, it's the structure, all the things that actually make the basic chassis of the mech. All the armor, the weapons, the sensors, the heat sinks, all that stuff, those get bundled into the 50-ton budget that I'm going to use to stat out the mech. Clan mechs are a little bit more efficient than inner sphere mechs, so that's why you divide them by half and then you bump them up to the next increment of 5. So if this was a clan assault mech that was 100 tons, let's say it was a Timberwolf Mark II, which I'm pretty sure is 100 tons. It would be 100 divided by 2 is 50, plus 5 is 55. So they get a slightly higher budget to work with, so they can mount more weapons, they can mount more armor, whatever it happens to do, whatever that mech happens to be, prioritizing. So because the Atlas is such an iconic mech, I kind of had to do this one. I couldn't skip over converting this one, as much as it's like, I'm not as big a fan of the Atlas, mostly because of the hype. It's actually a pretty good mech. But Yeah, that's my personal take on it. Oh, and also, by the way, I feel it's worth pointing out that the website I'm using here for reference is sarna.net. It is an amazing resource for Battletech stuff. I highly recommend if you're even slightly interested in the setting. It's a great jumping off point to be like, oh, well, I want to learn more about this thing or this faction or whatever the case may be. Sarna is the place to go. So, anyways, the Atlas is 100 tons of battle mech fury and righteousness, and I'm only going through and doing the basic models, like the stock, default, standard version of each mech, at least for now. So the basic Atlas comes with an autocannon 20. It's a big ballistic cannon, long-range missile 20, shoots 20 missiles in a volley, it has the potential to do a lot of damage. SRM 6 short-range missile, higher yield explosives, but much shorter range. And then 4 medium lasers, the workhorse of the Battletech universe. Like almost every mech has a medium laser on it somewhere, just in case. So those are the weapons we have to kind of consider when we are looking at statting this out. We also kind of want to consider the speed. We're not worried about converting the speed over in specific terms, but we want to make sure that the speed kind of approaches or keeps in the spirit of what the mech's speed should be. So Atlas's assault mechs in general are relatively on the slow side, so we'll keep that in mind. Let's see. Keep thinking. I want an Atlas, and I go with something small and fast. Yeah, exactly. I'm a huge fan of the Battlemaster. It's actually one of my favorites as far as assault mechs go. It's, a lot of people kind of laugh like, oh, Battlemaster, outdated, kind of obsolete design. It's, only 85 tons. I actually really like them. Overheating mechanics, yes, agreed. That's actually one of the things I'm going to be tweaking just a little bit for the Fate conversion, is making sure that the heat threat is a little bit more in line with what it should be, because I've noticed a couple of incidents where heat just didn't seem like it was too much of a problem. So I'm going to be looking at that probably tonight while we're chatting. Let's see. So we got basic stats for the Atlas. I'm going to scroll way down and I'm going to check out the weapons and equipment. The main reason I come here is because I want to see if it has any additional important details, like if it's got an ECM or if it's got anti-missile system. ECM is electronic countermeasures. Anything that's not kind of counted in the basic weapon block up above. I'm pretty sure the Atlas doesn't, but it's still important to look at. It also references how much armor it has. That's going to be important for me to take into account. So, it's there are a lot of things that it's important to factor in when it comes to doing these conversions. Because again, you want to make sure that the Fate version of the mech really kind of feels like the mech is supposed to feel. So the Corsair is kind of a weird grab bag of different things. It's really solid. It's not very fast or maneuverable. I think its top speed is like 48 kilometers per hour, which is ridiculously low in the setting. But, it is what it is. So that's the Corsair. Now, the Atlas is a little bit different because the Atlas has 5 extra tons to work with. So the way I statted this guy out, I'm just going to fill it out and we'll just talk about it after the fact. So ballistic is... So, whoops. That was a forum that I was looking something up on. So the ballistic weapon for the Atlas is an AC-20. AC-20s are really big cannons. They don't have great range, but they do really good damage. So the ballistic rating on this is going to be great at +4, but only short and medium range. So that's, a bit of a limitation with the weapon. But if you can get in range and hit people with it, they usually go away, which is always nice. From there, we're going to take a look at... they also have missiles at great, but only at... medium range. And that is because at medium range, the mechs, SRMs and LRMs kind of overlap. So it's not so close that it can't fire the LRMs, and it's not so far away that it can't fire the SRMs. So all those missiles hitting you within that range bracket is a bad day for you. So that's why it's going to get rated great. Let's see. For good, we are looking at a couple of different things. Because the Atlas is a big honkin' 100-ton assault mech, it may not be able to move very fast, but if you can get into melee range and hit something with it, it's going to do a lot of damage. So, melee is at good for the Atlas. Missiles is good at long and extreme range to reflect that LRM 20. So let me just check stuff off here as I fill it out. That's done, that's done, that's done, that's done, that's done. Okay. And then stability. So Atlases are big and heavy. They've got a solid stance, a wide stance on the mech. So they are difficult to knock over. So that's going to affect their stability and give them a lot more stability stress. Bumping down to fair, let's see. We've got energy at short and medium range. That reflects the 4 medium lasers. We've got heat. Atlases are not the best at cooling down with all those weapons. They can sink a fair bit of heat, but it doesn't usually keep up with someone who is just pushing all the buttons all the time. So that is going to kind of reflect that heat management component of Battletech that is so important to the setting. So that was heat. And then we're going to get sensors are in there. Oh, wait. Actually, before sensors, because I like to do things alphabetically, we want to toss in missiles at short range. So that reflects the SRM-6. So we've got the AC-20 in ballistics here. We've got the missiles reflecting the long-range missiles, the short-range missiles, and then, of course, the overlap between the two. And then, of course, we've got the 4 medium lasers reflected in the energy rating there. So that's taken care of as far as that goes. That is +2, +2, +2. Okay. So then we've got a couple things at average, and that is the maneuvering and acceleration of the Atlas. They are not known for being speedy. They are technically a little bit faster than the Corsair, but not by enough that it's going to bump the acceleration up by a whole lot. They tend to be very ponderous. It takes a little bit to get them into position. So generally, you want to have your assault mechs positioned before the fight starts. You don't want to have to rush your assault mechs into place because they can't do that unless they're very specific kinds of assault mechs. But we are missing one big thing here. The Atlas doesn't have jump jets, so I don't have to worry about that. The big thing that we're missing is the armor. Atlases are built to withstand a ton of punishment. So, armor is going to be the one thing at superb or +5 for the Atlas. So, armor isn't something that you're typically going to roll as part of the Fate game that I'm running, but it is important because it determines how much armor stress the mech has. So what we're going to do real quick here is we're going to add in that armor based on the armor skill. So the base is 2, and then for every point in armor, for every level in armor, you get another one. So that is going to be 7 armor stress. Assault mechs can take a ton of damage. Like your average light and medium mech has between 2 and 4 armor depending. These guys have, considerably more. Then we're going to have heat. So this is the heat rating is going to determine the maximum limit on heat. Again, it's a base of 2 plus 1 for every level of heat. They're the heat ratings, so that's going to be a total of 4. There's excess heat, which is kind of a mechanics thing. It's not based on the mech itself, and that's always at 4. And then we've got stability, how hard it is to knock the mech over. Let's see here. So base of 2 plus 3, so stability 5. The mech is still bipedal, so it can get knocked over relatively easily, but it's heavy, so it's hard to do it. Punishment? Wait, did I say the word punishment? Maybe I did. I don't remember saying that, but sure, yes, let's go with it. Um, so those are the basic stats for the Atlas. Now, anybody who's familiar with Battletech is familiar with it. A lot of the mechs have something called quirks, or they have like random little things that aren't necessarily part of the design element of the mech, but they just kind of manifest in the field. Like they're, maybe they're really good at dissipating heat, and so they get a little boost to their heat rating or whatever. So they can take. Oh, I did. You're right. I did say it. The Atlas can take a lot of punishment, which is good because the Atlas has a tendency to get in trouble. The Atlas is a little bit of a rabble rouser. Also, it tends to attract a lot of attention. It's one of those. It's one of those mechs in games like MechWarrior 5 and whatnot, where when you show up on a mission piloting an Atlas, the enemy AI tends to target you just by default because you're the scariest mech on the field and they want to kill you. And then once you start actually firing your weapons and dealing damage, they're like, okay, yeah, that's a high priority target. So it's interesting. I picked up an Atlas in MechWarrior 5 just the other day in this playthrough that I'm doing, and dropped in on a mission, and I had no armor left on the mech except I think on the head. I think every other location was stripped of armor. It was just structure. Several of my weapons were critically hit. It was rough. It cost me so much money to repair the darn thing, but it was fun to play. So that's really what matters. Anyways, so some of you might be wondering, okay, well, how does the tonnage work? Because you can add all this up. It doesn't add up to the 50-ton budget that I said we had. And that's because certain things are going to scale differently. So armor is worth 3 tons per point. So at 15, or at +5 armor, that's 15 points. So that automatically drops our budget of 50 tons down to 35 tons. Then, when we're looking at the weapons, those are going to be basically additive. So a weapon at rating +1 is 1 point. If it's rating at +2, it's 1 point, +2 points for 3 points. If it's +3, it's 6. If it's +4, it's 10. So, and you go by the highest rating for that particular weapon system. So ballistic, in this case, is great, so that's 10 points. Missiles has the potential to be great, so that's 10 points. For another 20 points coming off of that budget, which is going to drop us to, let's see, we were at 35, minus 20 is 15. Then we've got the energy, which is going to be 3 points, leaving us at 12. So that's going to account for everything else. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You don't count any instances where a weapon system gets dropped down for different range brackets, because you do the scoring or the points for that based on the highest level of that weapon. So missiles only gets counted once at 10 points. We ignore the other missiles. So that was 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So only armor and weapons count more than 1 ton per point. So and that's because armor and weapons arguably are kind of the most important things on a mech. And so to prevent people being like, well, shouldn't you just pump all your points into weapons? Well, you can't really do that. So they scale differently. Required a little bit of creative math in order to make that work. But once I kind of had that formula down, I found it actually worked really well at the light, medium, heavy brackets. And I've only just done a couple of assault mechs today, and I think it's going to continue working out pretty well. I'm pretty happy with the way it's panned out. But, yeah. Anyways, so one of the things, like I said, is that most mechs are going to have a quirk or some kind of special thing. Sometimes it's built into the mech, like electronic countermeasures or better sensors or whatever the case may be. Other times it's just some kind of random, all of the pieces put together, you put that out on the field and it does something that wasn't quite anticipated by the engineering team. And in the Battletech game, those are called quirks. I don't know that the Atlas has a particular quirk, but I do want to give it an extra ability, and that's going to be based on what I mentioned earlier. I'm going to give it Fearsome Reputation. And because the Atlas is designed to be one of the scariest mechs on the battlefield, we want to reflect that in the gameplay. We want to give that flavor into the mechanics. So what we're going to say here is target of their attack if you are within that attack's range bracket. You may spend 1 fate point to force the enemy to target you instead. So this is one of those things where, again, as an Atlas, you got a ton of armor. You're kind of supposed to be the center of the line and, absorbing a lot of that damage. This allows anybody piloting an Atlas in the Fate system to spend a Fate point and just be like, hey, I want that guy to target me because I'm in an Atlas and Atlases are scary. So it kind of is just an inherent part of the mech. So there we go. I think that is kind of what I'm looking for the Atlas. I can't think of any other quirks, but if anybody watching is a Battletech fan and you're like, Ben, you're dumb, you're forgetting this thing, please let me know, because I'm not one of those people who claims to know everything about the setting. I know a lot, but there's a lot more that I don't know. So, but yeah, that pretty much takes care of. That pretty much takes care of this. Oh, you know what? Actually, there is one other thing I wanted to add for this guy, and that is... one of my other mechs had it, and I forget what exactly I called it, so let me pull it up real quick. It was the Griffin 2C. Know nothing about the setting, but you have a question. Please, go ahead, Mom. Feel free to ask away. Why are you being noisy? Sorry, not you. That's my phone. Was it this guy? Oh, that's right. It's the ferrofibrous armor. I don't think that Atlas has it. No overheating is an issue for the mech itself, but what about the comfortability of the user? So in the setting, in the lore of Battletech, it's sort of one of those things where mech warriors, the pilots for battle mechs, are trained to kind of deal with the heat buildup. So as they are going through an engagement, their heat spikes and things like that. Generally speaking, if they're operating within the parameters of the mech, they'll be okay. They might be a little bit on the warm side, but they're used to it. They actually have these cooling vests that are basically they have they're plugged into the hardware of the mech, and it circulates water and stuff like that over the pilot's body to keep them cool even when the mech itself is hot. But when it gets into overheating on the mech, that's where it can start to cause a problem for the machinery and for the mech warrior. In terms of fate, the way I'm handling that is if you suffer, and we didn't do this in the playtest thing last week, but it's going to be something we're going to do going forward. If you suffer a heat-related consequence for your mech, you can instead transfer that over to the pilot. The thing is, consequences take time to heal. If the pilot and the mech both have consequences, then that's potentially problematic because it's taking a consequence as the pilot means you're one step closer towards the pilot being knocked out, and at that point it doesn't matter how much of the mech is left behind. So you can take on heat-related consequences as the pilot instead of having the mech take them. But it's iffy whether or not you want to do that, and you can only do it once. So, yeah, that's a good question. I really wish the video games would do a little bit more with that. As far as like the pilot struggling with the heat, really they just only have a heat gauge, and once you hit the top of it, you shut down, or you can override that, but that's usually a bad idea. So yeah. That's kind of how I'm going to address that. hopefully that makes sense and answers your question. Actually, I am going to make note of that because I haven't actually written that out yet. Heat. So I need to do this. Makes sense. Awesome. Thank you all. So, call it pilot overheat. This is an important mechanic. So basically what this is going to say is when your mech instead. It's not the level, the severity of the consequence is the same, and the whoops can be tagged by opponents as normal. This can only be done once per engagement. All right, Ranger Eric. Hey, how's it going? Hats off. Once upon a time, I ran a Shadowrun, another Phasa game with Fate, Shadow Fate. And though it worked very well, I was exhausted by the time it ended. Infinitely more complex and a labor of love on your part. Ah, well, thank you. Man. Honestly, Fate is one of those systems that I like for a lot of settings, and I feel like Shadowrun would be really good for Fate. So I'm kind of bummed that I wasn't able to be a part of that, but I'm sure it was a great game. And yeah, it's definitely required a little bit of work. Mostly it's the math and kind of just sitting down and making sure that each mech makes sense from the perspective of how it's supposed to feel. So that's actually been kind of a fun little challenge. I've got. Hold on, let me save this before I get off on too much of a tangent. Actually, I don't know how many mechs I have at this point. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 53. So I think that's a pretty decent stable of mechs. It is nowhere near the actual number of mechs that exist in a setting. It's ridiculous how many mechs exist. But I get it. It's when you've got a game company that, they make their money by selling unique models and, unique minis for unique units. The more unique units, the more money they're going to make. Because everybody's going to be like, oh, well, I've got my whole collection of light mechs. Now there's 3 new light mechs. I should probably go buy those to complete my collection. So I get it, but it's a little bit over the top in my opinion. So yeah. All that, and I got distracted from what I was doing. Let me finish that up real quick. Griffin. Oh wait, no, because I was thinking I wanted to give it the thing for that extra, but I don't think. The Atlas does not have ferrofibrous armor, at least not the base model. I wonder if any of the other variants do. Yeah, okay, the K2 has it. And probably anything that comes after that is probably going to have it. So yeah, so we're gonna call it good. And that is the Atlas basically done. One of the things I do want to do is I want to go through and create an aspect for every mech to reflect kind of what it's supposed to do. Ideally, I'd like to do a high concept and a trouble aspect, but that might be more work than I'm capable of putting into it with the amount of free time that I've got. So we'll see. But yeah. I think I'm happy with that. I think that's the Atlas done and dusted. Did you allow your players to choose their mechs or weight class, or were they assigned one at the start? So during the... What in the world is going on there? My phone just freaked out, sorry. So basically I asked them for their preferred light and medium mechs. For the training simulation playtest, last time they piloted their preferred mechs. There was an Enforcer, there was a Phoenix Hawk, and there was a Griffin 2C on the field for the players. Pardon me. The actual campaign going to be a little bit different. They're going to be a little bit more limited in the hardware they have available, but they will be able to kind of pick how they want to approach that. Basically, they're going to get, it's in the game. It's going to be a sanctioned military operation, which anybody who's been in the military knows that, things get a little bit bureaucratic and whatnot. So they're going to be given basically a budget for their tonnage, and within that budget they can pick, whatever mechs they want from medium and light mechs, and they're just going to have to make that work. They probably won't be able to get all the mechs they want, but depending on how they want to spend that tonnage, they might be able to get at least a few of them. So that's the idea. Let's see. One of the other things that I've got to work on is special abilities for a couple different pieces of equipment that are very common within the Battletech universe. So there's the tag, target acquisition. What does the G stand for? Is it target acquisition gear? That seems weird. That's not the word I would guess for the G, but I could be wrong. Tag. Oh, it is target acquisition group or gear. Nice. Okay, so I was right. So tag is one thing that I've got to figure out. Actually, I figured the stats out. I just need to put it into Roll20. There's mask, which is basically something that increases your speed. There's a supercharger, something else that increases your speed, both of which have slightly different effects. But I need to do the Beagle Active Probe and the ECM suite. So those are on my to-do list for tonight as well. Just additional little special abilities that certain mechs are going to have if those things are installed. But I think what I'd rather do, at the moment anyways, is I would rather put in a couple more assault mechs, because we don't have quite enough of those. And I've got 2 Inner Sphere assault mechs, so I think next what we want to do is we want to do a couple of clan assault mechs. So what are some of the more iconic clan assault mech? Assault mechs. Is this what I'm looking for? Go away. Those are... There's a couple Omni-mechs and things like that. That's not quite what I'm looking for. So let's go to Google. This might be a more concise list. Clan assault mechs. Let's see. The Direwolf is a fairly popular one. And the... Ooh, do we want to go with a Gargoyle? If anybody in chat has a favorite clan assault mech that they want to see me convert over, feel free to toss that out. I'm happy to take suggestions. Let's see. Gargoyle could be a good one. You know what? The Mad Dog is a pretty popular one, actually. So let me. Oh, what is the Mad Dog called? I forget. Hold on. This is the. This is me being a dirty Inner Sphere supporter, not knowing the clan names for stuff. The Vulture. That's what it is. I knew it was down towards the end of the alphabet. Oh, they don't have it here. That's interesting. Ooh, the Annihilator. Okay, yes. Ranger Eric, that is an excellent suggestion. I am a fan of the Annihilator. I don't know if it's a clan mech or not, but you know what? What the heck? We'll toss it in there, and let's see. Yeah, it is an Inner Sphere battle mech, so that's okay, though. I'm more than happy to convert that over. Man, the Annihilator is so ridiculously slow. It's one of the slowest mechs in the game at 32 kilometers an hour, but it is so much fun to play. It's got basically 4 giant shotguns and some medium pulse lasers, and it just obliterates stuff. So I'm a big fan of this, at least in MechWarrior 5. I haven't played it in tabletop, but the Zeus. Ooh, the Zeus is another good one. So let's see. Okay. I'm surprised the Vulture's not in there, but you know what? Here we go. But the Vulture is 60 tons. Oh, that's why, because I was thinking it was an assault mech. I'm thinking the Vulture Mark II, maybe? Nope, it just falls under there. Okay, so Vulture was a bad choice because it's not an assault mech. I'm just a filthy casual. I don't know these things. Let's see. So wait. We've got the Direwolf. We've got the Gargoyle. We've got 2 Inner Spheres already, plus 2 more that were selected. I'm not going to do the Stone Rhino because that is... No. It's a ridiculous mech. So I'm not going to do it. Ooh, Phoenix Hawk 2C. Wait, that's an assault mech? What? Huh. I didn't realize the Phoenix Hawk had a higher weight version that was considered an assault mech. That is funny. Let's see. Executioner. Is this a... Ah, yes. Okay, so we'll do the Executioner, because that's a good one. So I'm going to actually lump that over there with the other assaults, or the other clans. And you know what? Actually, that might be where we pause for now. Yeah, we'll pause that there for now. We'll do 3 clan and 4 Inner Sphere assault mechs. I think that'll round out the assault mech stable well enough. Does it allow for modularity for the mechs? Is it easy for PCs to potentially swap out an AC-10 for another weapon system? Yes. So basically, the way that I've done the conversion, and you may not have been here for this when I kind of did a quick gloss over of it earlier, is I basically take the weight of the mech, I divide that tonnage in half, and then if they're a clan mech, I add 5 to that. And so that, whatever that number is the budget for tonnage. And weapons and armor scale at a higher rate, so they tend to be heavier things, and therefore they cost more in tonnage. But everything else is just 1 ton per point in that system. So basically what that means is I'm gonna pull up the Atlas real quick. And so let's say we take a look at the Atlas, which has an AC-20. It's got LRM-20, SRM-6, and 4 medium lasers. Let's say they want to drop the AC-20. They want to drop that down to an AC-10. So they can reduce the weight on, or they can reduce the rating on their ballistic weapon, drop down to an AC-10, which changes it from great to good, and they get 4 tons back by doing that. Now let's say maybe they want to change the energy rating to to good, so they want to upgrade that because they want to basically they want to swap out the medium lasers for medium pulse lasers. They can do that. That's going to cost them another 3 tons, so they'd have 1 ton left over, and then they could put that into having better sensors or improving their heat capacity by installing some additional heat sinks, or maybe change the maneuverability. They give it a better gyro, whatever the explanation happens to be for improving that system. They just have to make sure they have enough tonnage in the budget to do that. So yes, they can absolutely customize their mechs. They won't be able to in the initial kind of story scenario that I'm running, but after that, they do have the potential. Another thing is any additional gear-related extras. So like if they wanted to install a tag, or if they wanted to install an anti-missile system or something like that, that also costs tonnage. So a lot of mechs they don't have the room for those things kind of by their stock design. So they would have to fiddle with the build a little bit in order to install those systems. But it might be worth it to, drop one of your weapon systems a little bit in order to get a supercharger in there to make your mech a little faster or whatever. So yeah, I don't want to say I've accounted for it because I haven't actually seen it done yet, but in theory it should work out just fine. And we all know how theories pan out when players get a hold of them. You're welcome. Thank you for the question. So yeah, that is kind of the idea there. Now let's go ahead and so hold on, I got to create a character card, and we're gonna pull that down here. We're gonna start with one of the clan mechs because we haven't done one of those yet. Let's do the Direwolf. The Direwolf is kind of a classic clan mech. So, and let me see if so one of the things that I'm doing with the images for this is I'm stealing a lot of the mech art from the Mech Warrior Online. I shouldn't say stealing. I'm using the Mech Warrior Online art because their mech designs are really nice and slick. They're very modern. They're very cool looking. They don't have every mech that I've converted over, so I've had to take some liberties with some of the artwork. But in general, I'm using the Mech Warrior Online stuff because it's very professional and it's usually fairly accurate. So we're going to save that, and we're going to drop that in Assault, Clan, no, here. This is going to be the Direwolf Prime variant, so I can jump back over here, and we're going to go mech for Clan. Oh. Decided didn't like that, so let me try again. Image, new tab, save image as Direwolf Prime. There we go, that worked. All right, and then another thing that I like to do is I like to basically, just so that my players have an easy reference, is I like to grab the Sarna bio for each of the mechs and fill that and paste that into the bio for the character card. That way, if they run into the mech in the field, they can do a sensor scan of the thing and figure out exactly what its capabilities are. I mean, they could also just go to Sarna if they wanted to cheat, but none of my players are cheaters, so, those. And then I want to, how did I do this? Source, that's right, okay. And then, because I am a stickler for this kind of thing, I cite my sources like any good graduate student would do. There we go. All right, so art is in there. We've got the basic rundown of what the mech is all about. Graduate student trauma alert. Yeah, exactly. Sources. Oh, God. The citations. The citations. I actually liked writing papers, which is stupid to say now because at the time, like, I wasn't a huge fan, but that was only because I had to write so many of them in such a short time. Generally speaking, I actually really like academic writing. Anyways, so the Dire Wolf is going to have... oh, wait, you know what? Hold on. This is the Dire Wolf Prime Primo. 4 ER large lasers. That's really good. 2 Ultra Autocannon 5s. An LRM-10. And 4 medium pulse lasers. Because what the hell, why not, right? God, that is a ridiculous amount of weaponry. This might be the stumbling block for the conversion system that I've got here is clan assault mechs. I might not have the tonnage to afford all this. Can you say with a deadline less than 24 hours? Yeah, exactly. So when I was in high school, everybody dreaded the junior year social studies, world history, American history. I forget what the class was. It was a history class. Mr. Cox, COX. I'm not being crude here. Mr. Cox was the teacher, and everybody dreaded this paper that he assigned because up to that point, you haven't written like really extensive or intensive papers. It's like 3 or 4 pages. His is like minimum 15 pages, probably going to take you 20. You've got to do citations, you've got to do all this other stuff and blah blah blah, and you got to do your research. Like he's real hard ass about it, and he assigns it at the beginning of the year and says by the end of the second semester or whatever is when it's due. So, okay, fine. Take the assignment, put it in the backpack. I've got however many months to do this. I literally waited until the day before when my friend was like, oh, hey, how's your paper going for that? And I was like, oh, yeah, I've got to do that. And I stayed up all night, busted it out, and was the only one to get a perfect score on the paper in the class. And my friend, who knew that I did it the day before, was pissed. It's a little bit of a brag, but it's also really not a healthy way to do stuff because that procrastination is carried forward into my adult life and it causes problems. So, yeah, exactly. Yeah, my friends were always annoyed with me when I was like, oh yeah, I did that last night. They're like, I don't understand. It did help me in my college career, though, because I was attending University of Phoenix and working full-time, and so I often didn't have a lot of free time to do stuff, like write papers, sometimes 2 or 3 in a week. And so being able to do things and that kind of crunch time really kind of helped me out in that one particular instance. But in general, it's otherwise been a bad trend. Anyways, okay, so I'm going to, because I like writing things down physically rather than taking notes digitally. I like the tactile sense. I'm gonna use my notebook here. Oh, good lord. Okay, so oh, you know what? That actually reminds me. I've got to come up with a quirk or an extra for UAC weapons and probably rack weapons. So I'll have to figure out how I'm going to do that. But that's just a little note for me to tackle later. That is future me's problem because I don't want to get too distracted. Okay, so ER large lasers. First off, those are going to be tactile note taking, but centralized storage and easy sharing. Yes. That's fair. That's fair. But I don't have an iPad, and I'd rather not take notes on my tiny little phone. So, plus, I just like notebooks. I've got so many of them. I always buy cool notebooks because I'm like, ooh, I can write something cool in this. And then I just never figure out anything cool enough to write in them. So I've got this stack of notebooks that never gets used. They just collect dust. And then, of course, I've got cheap, ugly notebooks that I buy because I'm like, oh, I can just take random notes in this thing. So I've got a bunch of those, too. The real problem is when I use like my cheap ugly notebooks, and then I come with I develop an idea where I'm like, oh man, this is really good. I wish I'd put all these notes into one of my nice notebooks so that I could have them all compiled and condensed into this one notebook. But instead, I've scattered it across 6 different ugly notebooks. Yeah, ADHD is a thing. Well, suspected ADHD. I've never been officially diagnosed, so take that with a grain of salt. Anyways, for ER large lasers, I'm gonna start that at great or +4, and that's gonna be. Would we consider that to be extreme range for ER large lasers? I don't know. In theory, you should. What is the overall? Does it tell me? How many meters does this shoot? It's not going to tell me. I'm going to call it extreme range, which might be a little bit incorrect because, like ER PPCs are quite a bit longer than ER large lasers, but we're going to go with it. I can always adjust it if I need to because, there are no rules other than the ones I impose on myself here. So that's going to be great. So that's energy. 2 UAC5s. I'm going to call that ballistics at good. And that's going to be... I feel like UACs tend to have shorter range than the standard version of the same weapon. But I don't know that it's considerable enough to drop it down a whole range bracket. So I'm going to call it short to long for now, and that might get revisited at a later time. An LRM-10 launcher is only going to be fair. So missiles at fair. And that's going to be short to long. Now that's interesting. One of the interesting things about clan mechs is that they have clan LRMs, which are slightly different from inner sphere LRMs. They're better at firing in direct line of fire, whereas inner sphere LRMs are good at arcing over intervening obstacles. And inner sphere LRMs have a minimum distance, so they can't fire at short range, but they can fire up to extreme range. Clan LRMs can fire at short range, but can't fire past long range. So they basically move those range brackets back one, and they make they require slightly different deployment in tactical situations, which is always fun. My high school senior photos were me with dozens of notebooks, poetry and writing. Oh, well, hey, see, you used those notebooks. I used the first 20 pages of most of my notebooks, and then stuff happened. They just basically ended up sitting in my backpack as isometric weight training tools, but that's beside the point. Now, this guy also does have, not saying they're awful. That's fair. Okay, that's fair. Now, this guy also has 4 medium pulse lasers. So, I feel like what that means is that the energy rating on this guy is actually going to be... I think it's going to be the highest rated weapon I've put on a mech yet, which is going to be fantastic at +6. And that's going to be within short to medium range, because that's where the ER large lasers and the medium pulse lasers are all going to converge and allow you to blow things away. And then the long and extreme range is going to be, I think, I might bump that down to +3. Because 4 medium pulses plus 2 ER larges gives you +6. That's roughly equivalent firepower, I would think. So if you divide them in half, you're probably looking at a +3 for both. So maybe we'll do a +3 for the ER large lasers at long and extreme range. Okay. How many points is that? Something I forgot to look at. Let's take a look at the Direwolf's tonnage. I'm pretty sure it's 100. Yeah, it's 100 tons. So that means the budget for our Direwolf here is going to be 55 tons to spend. because it's 100 tons divided by 2, and it's a clan mech, so it gets an extra 5. And it's slightly more efficient than Inner Sphere. So 55 tons. Right now, we're using... So 1, that's 3, that's 6, that's 10, that's 15, that's 21. So that's 21 points for the energy weapons, which is a boatload of points. Then it's 6 for the ballistics, and it's 3 for the missiles, which is putting us at 30 points exactly, leaving 25 tons for the remaining. Which, again, may not pan out. I may have to drop that energy rating down 1 to +5. We'll see. Anyways, we've got 25 tons left. So armor is going to be the next big thing. So let's address the armor situation. What does this guy do? Okay, so he's also slow. So his acceleration maneuverability is only going to be +1. Actually, let me go ahead and toss those out there right now. Accelerate, maneuver are both at +1. So that's going to be another 2 tons. Whoops, +1. That's 2 more tons is 32. Okay. Speed and armor protection matches that. Atlas, but has superior potential firepower with 50.5 tons of free pod space for weapons and equipment. Okay, so if that's the case, so they're saying it has equivalent armor to the Atlas, which that actually makes things easier for me because I've already converted the Atlas, and so I have a comparison. We gave the Atlas armor at +5, so we're going to do the same thing here. Direwolf Prime is going to be armor at +5, which means that's another 15, so that's 47. So that leaves us with 8 tons. We still have to worry about sensors, stability, melee, and heat. How good is the Direwolf at heat dissipation? Let's take a quick look at that. Okay, whatever. Sorry for the random noises while I'm thinking and scrolling. It's a habit that I've developed over years, and it's not going to go away anytime soon. That's funny. 50.5 tons of free pod space. That's actually not that far off from the tonnage that I'm giving it with the system I'm using. So, oh, that's for weapons and equipment. So I guess it's slightly off. Never mind. Anyways, heat. 22 double heat sinks. All right, so that to me sounds like it's going to be heat is going to be at great. So that's going to be a +3. So that's going to give us, put us at 50. We got 5 tons left over. Now the thing with clan mechs is clan mech warriors don't engage in melee combat. It's not a part of their paradigm. They really kind of value the hardware of a battle mech to almost a religiously fervent degree, and so they eschew melee combat with their mechs because why damage it more than you need to? So for all clan mechs, I just automatically put melee at 0, so it doesn't cost any tonnage. But it also means they're terrible at it, which is, I think, accurate to the setting. Even though the mech is big and heavy and could probably do a lot of damage in melee, it's like the mech just isn't designed for that. Like, it's got all kinds of safety protocol warning things that probably try to prevent people from doing that with it, and yada, yada, yada. So, is it completely accurate? No. Is it in keeping with the spirit? I think so. So, if you don't like it, write your congressman. So that's heat. We also are going to look at stability. Yeah, don't try to bulldoze with the expensive suit. Thank you. See? Mom gets it. Stability, and then what was the other thing? Sensors. I don't feel like it didn't say anything about having particularly strong sensors. We're just going to put that at +2. That puts us at 52, and then that gives us 3 tons for stability, putting us at 55 tons, and the stats are going to look like this. Energy at short and medium range. Armor is superb. actually doesn't have anything at great, oddly enough. So we're going to drop back down. We're going to go to ballistics, short to long range. Oh, yeah. Energy is going to be long and extreme range at this bracket. So that's that, that's that. And then we've got heat. We've got stability. Heat stability. Armor, I've got that listed. So then we're going to drop down. We're going to go missiles, and that's short to long at fair. And we're going to do sensors, and then we're going to do melee at mediocre. So missiles is done. Oh, wait. And, of course, we've got accelerate, and we've got maneuver. All right. Boom. There we go. Direwolf is statted out. I'm happy with the way that actually worked. The math supported what I think is going to reflect the proper feel of a direwolf. So now we're going to just put in the stress levels. So we said it's going to be 7 because it's a lot of armor. Heat is going to be 5. Excess heat always 4. That might change. I might ultimately end up making that 3, but we'll see how it goes. And then stability, which is going to be at 5. Cool. So those are the base stats for our direwolf friend here. I'm pretty happy with the way that turned out, actually. Now, the question is there an extra that we want to tack onto this? Let's see if there is. Well, okay, so actually they've got pulse lasers and they've got Ultra AC5. So, we're going to say UAC5 is one of the extras. I'm just going to save that for now. And then we've got pulse lasers. Actually, no, I want to tweak that. I want to say Ultra Autocannon. Just call it that. I want to save points for benevolence, so hydrate. Oh. Fine. Thank you. I'm actually glad you said something. I filled my bottle up before the stream started. It is still completely full, so I haven't had any in the last hour and 20 minutes or so, which is probably not great. I was very thirsty, yes. Thank you for recognizing that. Okay, so pulse lasers is an extra thing. So someone else has pulse lasers as well. Who was it? Not the Cougar Prime. Get Fox Prime, maybe? Get Fox. Anybody got? Nope. Pulse lasers, anybody got? Okay, you know what? I'm going to do this systematically. I'm going to start at the top. Not the Adder. Nope, not the Cheetah. Not the... These mechs might actually have pulse lasers, technically, but I didn't put the... quirk or the extra thing in there. No, it's got streak SRMs, though. Okay, I've got to remember that. None of those are going to have pulse lasers, so we're jumping up to the clans. The Clint. Nope. I should make a list of these things so I can find them elsewhere. Nope. Nope, that's got ER medium lasers, so... I actually need to go through and I need to standardize a couple things with like ER lasers and whatnot so that they all kind of do the same thing. I didn't do that previously and I kind of regret it. Whoop, save that mask. I don't want to lose that. Come on, I know somebody in here had pulse lasers. know what? Jump to the heavies. It's more likely to be... Oh, I did do the Mad Dog already. Ha! That's funny. Gauss rifle. No. Okay. Hold on a second. I'm going to have to open up my source. My source campaign. The one that I originally developed all this stuff in, because I probably just didn't transfer it over from the original mech. So with Alpha Strikes, do you just add all the auto successes from each weapon system you use, roll 4DF, and apply the appropriate heat at the end? I don't recall anyone doing it during session 0, but then again, I showed up late. So yeah, basically the way it works is, so you're going to roll whatever your highest weapon rating is for that particular mech. So let's say this Griffin 2C is doing an Alpha Strike. They would roll energy, so that's going to be +3. And then for every additional weapon system that they include, they're going to add 1 heat, and they're going to take and they're going to add +1 to the roll. That might change where you can add more dice for more heat, but I kind of kept it to something nice and simple to start off with so that things don't scale out of hand. So you get +1 to the roll for an additional weapon system at the cost of +1 heat. So if this one wanted to fire everything, technically energy, so they'd get energy and missiles, so they would roll energy. It would be a total of +4, good here, +1 for the missiles, and then energy would be 2 heat +1 for the extra thing, so they would generate 3 heat for that attack. And considering the fact that the Griffin 2C only has 3 base heat stress, that is filling up a lot of heat. So you got to be careful with that, because, yeah, I mean, you can't Alpha Strike every turn. At least you shouldn't be able to Alpha Strike every turn. Okay, let's see. I need to... Who had the pulse lasers? This is really going to bug me, because I know... Oh, wait. Aha. Is it the Uziel? It might be the Uziel. Yes! There it is. All right. I could have sworn I moved this over to the... Hold on. Did I... Yep, there it is. All right, cool. Found it. All right, so do that, do that. So with pulse lasers, one of the extras is when they make an attack that includes their energy rating, they can generate 1 additional heat stress in exchange for gaining a +2 to the attack roll. So pulse lasers are high intensity heat, but they also are really good at shearing off armor and stuff like that. So, you know, you can choose to go hog wild with the pulse laser trigger, but you generate more heat as a result. So, you know, that's tricky. Yeah, so that's cool there. So I've got that. Okay, now I need to figure out how I want to handle these ultra autocannons. So a standard autocannon is going to fire 1 round, a slug, big bullet. You know, fine, whatever. Ultra autocannons fire twice per shot, so it's like a double tap weapon. I don't necessarily want the damage output of an ultra autocannon weapon to be significantly different from the base one according to the stats. Like, I don't want it to inherently increase the rating of the ballistics. It did a little bit, but I don't want it to go overboard. So now I need to figure out what I want to do with... Now I want to figure out what I want to do to reflect the idea of the ultra autocannons in the Fate system. So one thing that I'm going to say is that it does require spend 1 Fate point to activate. If you don't, take a temporary aspect, a temporary consequence. So temporary consequences are things that only last for 1 turn. So going into your next turn on the following round, the temporary consequence would go away. But it gives people the opportunity to, or well, I guess it wouldn't go away it would affect you on your next, up through the end of your next turn. So when you make your next attack, your UAC jammed would go into effect, and your opponent could tag that to get a bonus on their defense roll. So, yeah, I think that's the way we want to do it. If you make an attack roll that includes ballistics. No, sorry. Make a ballistics attack that includes your UAC on the next turn. Okay. So UACs have a tendency to jam. That's kind of the drawback to them. You know, you get the double tap, so you get basically 2 shots for the price of 1, but the weapon can jam, and that can cause problems for you. So that's kind of the drawback side of it. Partial to rotary autocannons, but yeah, good catch on the jamming aspect. Yeah, so racks are another one I'm going to have to figure out how to do that with, but luckily it hasn't come up yet. I haven't converted any mechs that by default have a rack or a rotary autocannon. Basically, it's a giant like Gatling gun, or I guess depending on the way you want to look at it, it's like a revolver or a Gatling gun for giant robots. Those are even more prone to jamming, but they can pump out a ton of damage. They're pretty cool weapons. I actually quite like them. I wish that MechWarrior 5 had racks. That would actually be a lot of fun. I know MechWarrior Online does, but I don't know why. I've never really sat down to play a MechWarrior Online. I think I tried it at one point and was like, all right, fine, cool, yeah, I'll come back to this, and then I just never did. I'm not sure the reason for that. All right, Ultra Autocannons. So it's a double tap. What should they do? I think it should. Okay, I think that what they should do is fate point to activate. I think this is pretty good for what we're going for here. So basically, the attack gets a +1, and it deals an additional stability stress to the target. Now, they won't be able to do that every time because they have to spend a fate point or suffer a consequence if they don't spend the fate point. So that is to kind of represent the intermittent jamming of the weapons, because they don't jam every time you fire them. You know, in the lore of the game, really good mech warriors, you know, that are, you know, familiar with the weapon systems and whatnot, they can keep them firing pretty much consistently and they don't jam. So this kind of reflects, like, if you want to invest your fate points into this, you can prevent your UAC from jamming. If you don't, you can still benefit from this, but then it's going to jam. So, you know, you got to be, you know, you gotta gauge that cost benefit ratio. Either way, it's going to do a +1 damage, basically +1 on the attack roll. And if it hits, deals not only the additional damage, but also the additional stress, stability stress to the target. So they're more likely to get knocked over because they get hit by 2 slugs right in a row. So the, you know, rapid impact kind of rocks them back off their center of gravity a little bit more severely. I think that is probably the way we want to do that. Okay, so spend 1 fate point. So that was just me getting the idea out on paper. Now I need to make sure that it reads properly so that it makes sense. Spend 1 fate point when you make a ballistics attack roll that includes your UAC. The attack gains +1, and if it hits, it deals 1 additional stability stress to the target. This doesn't have to be like the most grammatically correct, by the way. I wanted to make sure that like someone reading it will make sense of it, and I want it to more or less be correct. But I'm not going to sit here and like, I'm not going to bore everybody with getting, you know, all grammar police on it. If you don't spend the fate point, take a temporary consequence UAC jammed. If you make a ballistics attack that includes your UAC on your next turn, the consequence persists and opponents can tag it again for free. Yeah, I think that is perfect. I think that's what I wanted to do. All right. So that is the Direwolf done and dusted. Got all the stats out. We've got the extras in there. We've got all the stress listed. The Direwolf is a beast of a mech. I would hate to run into this in a, you know, in a light mech. But yeah, there we go. I'm happy with that. Oh, the other thing I got to do is I've got to make sure I create a token so that I can put it on the table if and when it comes up. So I really love this particular token generator. It's free to use. I've actually donated to them a couple of times in the past because I use it so much, and I really love it. So the border, I tend to go for like a gray because it's kind of like, you know, metal mech related. So there's that, and then I need to go to Inner Sphere, Mechs, Assault, Clan, Direwolf, and then just do a little bit of resizey. We want it to kind of be framed properly so that you get the full impending nature of the mech. I think that'll do the trick, and there we go. That, jump back over here, and drop it in the tokens folder. View, extra large, it doesn't do that. Large icons, there we go. All right, cool. Oh wait, actually, you know what? I do want to, oops. I'm going to drag that into Roll20. So that it is available, and then I'm going to resize it real quick to fit into the hexes. All right. Perfect. Wait. Why are you not? What the heck? I said to save. There we go. All right, Direwolf is now officially done. Don't have to do anything else with that. So we're going to minimize. We're going to close that. Close that. I'm going to keep that open because we still need it. I can close that tab. And which one do we want to do next? We got the Zeus, the Annihilator, the Executioner, the Gargoyle. Anybody have a preference? I personally do not. So far we've done 2 100-ton assault mechs. We've done the Atlas, and we've done the and then we've done the Direwolf. We did a 95-ton assault mech in the Corsair. So I think we should do a lighter assault mech next, just to see how that transfers over. So we've got the Gargoyle at 80 tons, or we've got the Zeus at 80 tons as well. So it really just comes down to Clan or Inner Sphere. I'll give it a second. I'll drink some water while anybody who might want to weigh in on this can do so. But, yeah. Hold on a second. What is this? Close. Close. Cool. All right. Nobody has chimed in. So what we're going to do is we are going to rely on good old-fashioned random number generators. Let me just refresh my Roll20 so that it cooperates with me. Blood Asp. It is, yes, but it's not one of the ones that I've selected to convert at this time. It'll probably end up on the list at some point down the road, but not for the time being. Right now, it's just it's a choice between the Zeus and the Gargoyle. as far as which one we want to convert. Zeus is a classic inner sphere mech. Pretty straightforward. The Gargoyle is not one I'm super familiar with, but it's a really good mech. 90 tons. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, yeah. Like I said, the Bloodass will get added to the list at some point. It just not yet. Ooh, this is gonna be kind of a fun one. Okay, let's do the Gargoyle next, because I feel like that is gonna have some interesting stuff. The question is the Gargoyle in MechWarrior Online? It is. Actually, it looks a lot like an Enforcer. Interesting. Just upscaled. Oh, look at the treads on his little shoes. Aren't you just adorable? Yes, you are. Alright, so let's do this. Why is the Enforcer here? Get back over to the sidelines. Let's see. Come over here, and character, and Gargoyle Prime. And did I save that image? No, I didn't. Save image as Gargoyle Prime. There we go. Let's go ahead and take care of this now so that we've got the... I think that is a good positioning for it. Grab that. Grab that. Come over here. Drop it there. Jump over here. Grab this. Save that. Drop that in. Okay, and now we can minimize that. We don't have to worry about that for the moment. Let's resize this dude so that he fits in the hexes. And Gargoyle, nameplate, CS, save. Okay. And now we can put him over here with the other assault mechs. All right. Next thing we want to do, I can close that tab. One of the things I have to maintain, like I have to be diligent about, is tab maintenance. Otherwise, I end up with 1,000 tabs open and I can't find what I need. So we want to edit this. We want to jump in here and we want to drop the Sarna bio. The weapons and equipment list is relatively long, but not terrible. And grab the link for the source. A little bit of cleanup here, just to help things continue to be readable, legible, whatever. Okay, there we go. So, oh wait, let's grab the profile picture. All right. All right, all the little busy work stuff is taken care of. So let's jump into actually statting it up. So it's an 80-ton assault mech, which means we are going to be chopping that in half to 40, adding 5, so we've got a budget of 45 tons to work with for our pretty friend, the Gargoyle. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what's going on here. Oh, something I do want to mention is it looks like we've got some Pharaoh Fireburst armor, so that's going to be an important thing we want to add into the extras. We also have... we've got LBX autocannons. So that's another thing that we want to create a... oh, what's the word I'm looking for? We want to create an extra for that. Basically, LBX autocannons are big shotguns. So whereas standard autocannons are big rifles, LBXs are big shotguns, so there's a slightly different effect that they can have. They're slightly advanced weaponry compared to a standard autocannon. So those are the things that we want to take into consideration. We also wanted to look at the speed. So the Gargoyle is relatively fast for an assault mech. At 86 kph, we probably want to be looking at an accelerate of good. So that's going to be at +3. Maneuver, though, probably maneuver at 2. So that's going to be fair. So that's going to be 5 points right there. So that's dropping us down to 40. Okay. Let's see. What did they say about the armor? So 11 tons of ferrofibrous armor, which is light for its size, but provides protection equal to that of most heavy mechs. So what that tells me is, let's take a quick look at some of our heavy mechs, just to see how that kind of lines up. So like the Timberwolf Prime has armor of good. I think that probably makes sense. I think that is accurate. So we're going to do armor at +3, and that's 3 points per point, or 3 tons per point, so that's going to be 9. So that's going to bring us down to 31. It's fast for an assault mech. It is, yeah. Actually, that's I think it's the same speed as the Battlemaster, which is one of the reasons I like the Battlemaster, is because it's light on its feet, let's say. So there's that. All right, so now we've got to look at the weapons real quick. The weapons are going to be... So 2 SRM-6s, I think, is going to put it at... Missiles is going to be at great. Or not great. Missiles is going to be at good. So that's going to be another +3. But that's going to be within short and medium range. So that's going to be another 6 points. So that's putting us at 25. The ER small laser, that's just average. It's just going to be a +1. Whoops. So energy at short and medium range is going to be +1. So that's just 1 point. Puts us at 24. And then we're looking at the 2 LBX-5 autocannons. Let me... What other mech had autocannons? Was it the... I think it was the Uziel. Yeah, spread pattern, okay. Okay, so we know where that is. Why does the Uziel not have stats? I thought I did that. Oh well. So a standard autocannon 5, I believe I've been putting it fair, so +2. LBXs are going to be a little bit tougher, and then there's 2 of them. So we're going to put ballistics at great. So that's going to be +4. So ballistics +4, and that's going to be short to long range because it's a shotgun. Normally it would be a shorter range than that, but it's a autocannon 5 rating. Those tend to have longer ranges, so we're going to keep it to short to long. Yeah, I think that's the way we're going to do it. So that's going to be another 10. So that's putting us at 14 points left over. Oops, that's not what I want to look at. I want to look at some of the other clan assault mechs. 5 armor. 5 armor. 4 armor. Oh yeah, because the Mad Dog. That's right, that makes sense. Let's look at some Inner Sphere ones real quick. The Thunderbolt has 6 armor, because Thunderbolts are pretty tanky. Huh. Quick Draw has 4 armor because they're light, not as well armored. These guys have 6 because they're roughnecks. They're all about being sturdy. Dragon has 5. Catapult, I think, only has 4. Yeah, okay. Okay, well, that's fine. So 14 points. I think we're going to have more points than we need for this one, so we might have to tweak some of the numbers. Although, you know, while I'm here, I am going to grab this. That way I don't have to come back and get it later. Oh, okay, fine. So drop that there. Okay. And then the other one we need to add is Ferrofibers armor. And that is shared by the Griffin 2C, so I can steal the information from there. And we'll talk about what those do here in a minute. Okay, cool. So, we need to worry about sensors, heat, and stability for these guys. Let's take a quick look at the gargoyle. It's got 16 double heat sinks. What does this say as far as whether or not that's sufficient? Which can dissipate heat from most of the gargoyle's configurations quite effectively. Okay, so they're saying that the heat dissipation on this mech is usually pretty good. So, I'm going to put that at heat of +3, I think. So that's going to give us 11 points left. I think the gargoyle is going to have stability +3 as well, because it's a pretty sturdy boy. It's going to leave us with 8 points left. I think I'm going to bump the armor up to +4, actually, which is going to drop off another 3 points. That's going to be 5. And sensors. I don't think the gargoyles have a particularly strong sensor suite. Let's see if I'm wrong. Yeah, it doesn't say anything special about that. So I'm going to put the sensors at fair +2. It's going to leave us with 3 points left. I think I'm going to bump the maneuver up by 1. It gives us 2 points left. What is its top speed? 80 something? I'm going to bump accelerate up by 1 as well. So that's +4. So that's going to be 1. And then we got 1 more point. Let's just bump sensors up. I don't know if that's accurate to the way the gargoyles work, but apparently gargoyles have pretty decent sensors. At least that's the way that works in this version. All right, so what are we sitting here on? We're sitting on armors +4, ballistics are +4, accelerates +4. All right, so let's do that first. We're gonna go +4. We got accelerate. We've got armor. And we've got ballistics, short to long, also +4. So done, done, done. Next we've got missiles, maneuver, heat, stability, sensors. Pretty much everything there. Okay, so it looks like we're starting with heat. And we know that it's a clan mech, so melee is automatically going to be set to 0. So let's see, we've got heat is good, and then maneuver. Missiles at short and medium range. So that's done, that's done. Now we're looking at sensors. We're looking at stability. And that's there, that's there. We don't have anything at +2. We just have energy at... Come on, I can't type. All right. Now, this may not seem particularly scary compared to the direwolf we were just looking at, but I will point out that this thing has a really good acceleration rating. Like this thing can move. So this is one of those exceptions to the rule for assault mechs where you want to have them in position before the fight starts, because this guy can get into position once the fight kicks off. It's not going to be as fast as some mechs, but it's still pretty good. This might be slightly inaccurate to the way the mech feels because of the comparison to like some of the light mechs and whatnot. Like they're gonna have speeds that are basically kind of the same. It just depends on the mech, but I think this is probably good. Okay, so now let's do a quick tweak on armor is gonna be 6. There we go. Heat is gonna be 5. There we go. Excess heat is going to be, not 3, it's going to be, whoops, that's not what I want to do. 4, there we go. And then stability is also going to be 5. All right. There we go. Gargoyle is ready to roll. Yeah, the Gargoyle is going to be good at taking a lot of beating. Like between a high armor stress, high heat stress, high stability stress, really good acceleration, and honestly, a really good maneuver skill too. Like someone piloting a Gargoyle could very well dodge a lot of attacks, and so the armor doesn't even come into play. Weapons are not as like crazy out there as the Direwolf, but still they're respectable. You know, you can't just ignore this guy. So I like the Gargoyle. I think this will be a fun one to throw in the game as being like just good as a kind of a universal tool type of mech for the clanners. So I'm happy with that. So that was the Gargoyle. You got the token and everything already, so that actually went nice and quick. I'm not unhappy with that. For those of you who might have just joined us, I saw we had a few people show up and then leave again because they probably don't know what the hell's going on. We are doing a conversion of some mechs from the standard Battletech universe to the Fate system that I'm using to run a Battletech campaign here on the channel. Every other Thursday. Unfortunately, my players weren't available tonight, so I just kind of threw something up and we're working on campaign stuff right now. Lurking playing Mech Warrior 2. Nice. Very cool. Oh no, Modern Warfare 2. MW2 is Modern Warfare 2. See, I've got Mech Warrior on the brain, so MW2 means something very different to me. But that's fine, I guess. I hope you're enjoying your Modern Warfare. It's not as good as Mech Warrior 2, let's be honest, guys. But yeah, I hope you're having fun, and I hope your matches are going well. So, let's take a look at the... I can close that guy. I don't need him anymore. Let's take a look at the Zeus. We saw an 80-ton clan mech. Let's see an 80-ton inner sphere mech and see how well that pans out. Never played mech, but it's not quite my thing. That's fair. Modern Warfare isn't really my thing, so, you know, to each their own. Not every game is going to appeal to every person. So, so the Zeus is 80, so we're going to give it 40 tons of... Either you're playing DBD... Oh, Dead by Daylight, but it's buggy right now. Ah, that's unfortunate. Well, hopefully they fix the bugs and you're able to get back to playing it soon. Fingers crossed. Ooh, okay, so the Zeus isn't going to be quite as fast as the Gargoyle. That's going to be a little bit of a drawback. It's got a decent spread of weapons. Nothing crazy, but not too bad. Some heat sinks. So we're probably looking at accelerate, maybe +2, maybe +3 here. We'll have to see. let's see what we can get away with. Okay, so starting off, we want to take a quick look at... Actually, I'm going to do this just to make sure I don't forget any of my ducks. I'm going to put them all in a row. The Zeus. I actually like the Zeus design. It's pretty cool. I think we're going to go with that one. Oh, wait, no. That's... Whoa. Save image as. And we're going to go to Assault, Inner Sphere, the Zeus. Which version? No, we'll just put it in the Zeus for now. Close that, open that. Assault, Inner Sphere, Zeus. I think that'll work. What is this designation? It's the Zeus ZEU-6S. Inner Sphere, tokens, there we go. Drag this over. Did I just spell Zeus wrong? I did spell Zeus wrong. That's embarrassing. That's just out there for the whole world to see. That's going to come down here and hang out right there. All right, let's see. Oh, wait. What are you doing up there? You need to get back down here. Come on. Hang out with your buddy. Close that for now. Close that for now. Close that for now. Close that for now. And there. On a slightly different topic from Battletech, my wife and I received our second arcade cabinet. It is a refurbished, so it's one of the original cabinets that's been refurbished, of the old school 4-player X-Men arcade game, the beat 'em up game. My favorite arcade game as a kid, but because the internals have been updated and it's got a new, whatever hardware happens to be in there. It has, I think it's an extra 50 games or something like that. So it's got at least one of the Golden Axes. It's got a couple of the Gauntlets. It's got one Double Dragon, Final Fight, The Simpsons beat 'em up. It's got Captain America and the Avengers. It's got a whole bunch of beat 'em up games and a few others and things like that. And I am so excited. It's sitting out in our garage right now. We're going to have some people come in and help us move it down into the basement tomorrow because I have a bum back and I don't want to be lifting a 300-pound arcade cabinet in order to get it down here because I don't want to break the arcade cabinet. Or myself, I guess. Lower priority, but still on the list. And I am very, very excited. We've had our Galaga cabinet for the last couple of weeks, and that's got 300 games in it. Some classics, Pac-Man, things like that. It's got a bowling game that I actually really love because it's got the trackball in it. So I really enjoy, whenever I'm just I've got an extra few minutes, I go and I bowl a game. Yeah, super excited about it. Can't wait to get the X-Men game down here so I can beat up on some Sentinels and, just generally get lost in the nostalgia. Congrats, I love the X-Men arcade game. Ate all my money all the time. Yeah, agreed. Yeah, classic. I loved it. I still do. I'm glad we've got it. The next thing we're going to purchase in that vein is my wife wants an arcade or a pinball machine. She likes the Tales of the Arabian Nights pinball machine. It's her favorite. She's been wanting one for years, and I think that's what we're gonna get next. We were gonna buy one previously, but the whole thing fell through because I think the site that we were getting it from was being kind of scammy. Like, we sent the money, they sent it back. They were like, "Oh yeah, send it to this other account." So we sent the money, they sent it back. Like, "Oh yeah, send it to this other account." We were like, "I think twice is enough. 3 times I think making us do it a third time, I think, is just a little bit sketch. So we're gonna bow out. But we put that money towards the other 2 arcade cabinets, so it kind of worked out. Let's see. Your dad was a video game arcade tech. Oh, that's cool. That's definitely one of those things where, like, I never expected to be in a situation where I was like, man, I would really like to, like, I wish some of my friends knew how to build, like, fix arcade cabinets, or pinball machines or whatever. But we're finding ourselves where that's relevant all of a sudden. Okay, sorry, I got myself way distracted while I was putting together the token for the good old Zeus, the Zeusy boy. Okay, so we've got 40 tons to work with. What does it say about the armor on this guy? Wow, this is a lot of... Okay, that's just about weapons. Mm-hmm. 11.5 tons of standard armor, versatile weapons array. Okay, so I feel like for this guy, it's 11.5 tons of armor, which is comparable to the gargoyle, but it's not ferrofibrous. It's just regular armor. So I think we're going to put armor at... Let's see, what do we do for the gargoyle? I think we put armor at great. Yeah, so we're going to put armor at good for the old Zeus. So that's going to be +3. So that's -9. Putting this at 31 right off the bat. Okay, so that's that. Where am I going? I'm going this way. Okay. The gargoyle, we put the heat at good. I think we're going to downgrade the heat to fair for this one. So that's +2. So that's putting us at 29. Accelerate. I think we're gonna hold on. I'm gonna take a quick look at some of the other mechs. That's accelerate 4 because the Clint is speedy. Accelerate good. Okay, let me take a quick look at the Zeus Griffin 2C. What's the speed on this guy? He's 97.2. Okay. So I think we're going to put the Zeus's accelerated fair. So that's +2. 27. Maneuver. Let's see here. Fast enough to keep up with most heavy mechs. Alright, let's just make sure that that's kind of making sense with what we've got here. So like the Quick Draw has really good accelerate. Thunderbolt has decent accelerate. Dragon has good accelerate. Catapult has... Okay. Alright, yeah. So I think that's probably where we want that. I might put the maneuver on the Zeus at 3 because they are supposed to be kind of like quick hit and run attack mechs. So being able to kind of like dodge incoming weapons fire and stuff like that makes sense. So I'm going to give it a little bit of a boost to its maneuver, give it a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. All right, now let's look at some of the weapons for this bad boy. So it's got an autocannon 5. We are going to call that ballistics as +2. Yep, ballistics +2. And that's going to be short to long range. It's got, so that's going to be, what is that, 3 points. So that's going to be 21 points left over. LRM 15 is going to be missiles at 3, I think. And that's going to be medium to extreme range. So that's going to be 9 points. That's 12. And then we've got a large laser, 2 medium lasers. I think that's energy is +3 as well. So energy +3. When they are within short to medium range, and then at long range, it's just going to be energy is just going to be +2 at long. So that's going to be another 9 points. So that's 3 points left over. What are we missing? Armor, heat, accelerate, maneuver, or sensors and stability. Sensors +2. Stability +1? That doesn't seem... You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to bump the missiles down to +2. So that's going to free up another 3 points. So that we can bump the stability up by 2. And then we also want to put the melee at +2 because it is an assault mech, so it should be reasonably good at punching things with that weight and speed behind it. So yeah. So armor, heat, accelerate, maneuver, ballistics, missiles, energy, sensor, stability, melee, and I think 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. Wow, did I really, mess that up? Hold on. Normally I keep track as I go, but I didn't do that this time because I was like, oh, I've got this. So that's 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 16. So that's another 7 is 16. That's another 6 is 22. That's another 6 is 28. That's another 9 is 20. Wait. Oh, wow. I'm dumb. That's not 6. That's 3. There we go. Makes a big difference. That's 19. So that's 22. And then 9. That's going to be 31. 32, 33, 35, 36, 37, 38. Okay. So I think we're going to bump, we got 2 points left. We're going to bump stability up to +3 and melee up to +3. And I think that ought to do the trick for our friend, the Zeus. All right, so armor is at +3. Energy, short to medium is at +3. Got it, got it. Accelerate, got it. Energy long is at +2, got it. Oh wait, hold on. You come over here. Ballistics. Is also at +2, so we got that. Heat. Boom. Missiles. Medium to extreme is at +2. And then sensors is at +2. So, tick, tick, and then +3 we've got. Maneuver, melee, and stability. All right, there we go. So the Zeus, I think this is pretty accurate to the Zeus. Nothing really above good, but also nothing really below fair. It's a It's a workhorse of a mech. It's going to fit a lot of different roles. It's got the ability to get to the front line if it needs to. It's got the ability to dance around some weapons fire. It can lay down some decent firepower. Its heat dissipation is suitable. You know, could be better. Wait, why does that say sensors +2? Because I was talking out loud while I was typing. That's why. There we go. Yeah, I think it is a perfectly serviceable mech. Toss 5 armor stress on there. Heat is going to be 4. So not much to speak of there, but it doesn't really need to be much to speak of. Its weapons are probably going to be fine. Whoops. Wish you could edit those once you put them in there, but you can't. There we go. And then stability. 5. Perfect. Okay. Cool. So that's that. I got... Oh, one thing I didn't get is the bio info. Come here. Give me a use. Whew, that's a long bio. Whoever was writing up the lore for the Zeus was feeling motivated. Toss the old source in there. And save. Oh. Probably be helpful if I grabbed the portrait as well. Zeus. All right. Well, cool. We've got a couple of assault mechs in the bag. Got a couple others that I'm going to try to create sometime over the next few days. But I feel like that is a pretty decent selection. You know what I am going to do is I'm going to do a quick... The Annihilator is the ANH2A. We're going to toss that there, and then we wanted to do the Griffin 2C. We got the Executioner. Where's the other one? Okay. That's just in there for my reference, so I know what I was planning on statting out. I tend to do a couple more Inner Sphere than I do Clan, but not for any particular reason other than that the Inner Sphere ones are a little bit more common in the Inner Sphere, whereas Clan mechs are a little bit more rare. So, I don't know. It makes sense in my mind. Anyways, that is, I think, probably going to cut it for tonight. I'm not necessarily going to do the full 3 hours just because, you know, it's not super exciting to sit here and listen to me drone on about Battletech stuff, although, you know, I'm a huge fan. But I know not everybody else is going to be. So I'll probably putter around for a few minutes and then call it a night. So thanks everybody for tuning in. I appreciate you sticking around, chatting, asking questions, you know, offering your insight, your opinions, all that stuff. Always great to chat and interact with people. You're welcome. Thank you very much for joining. And I am... I don't think there's anything else that I need to do right this second. Pretty good there. Yeah. Oh, I guess one of the other things I have gone through and done some vehicles as well as battle mechs. I'm not going to probably do a ton of these. I kind of just wanted to do a few so that there's like some variety. Because, conventional warfare vehicles are a thing in the Battletech universe. So I wanted to make sure they were properly accounted for. So, I've got like an SRM carrier and stuff like that. I haven't fixed these. So if anybody's wondering why some of these things are blank, when I created the campaign originally, I was using a specific Fate character sheet through Roll20. They deprecated that in the time since. I didn't realize it when I copied it over. So when I copied the campaign, it brought all the mechs over, but it wiped all their stats. So I need to go through and basically just take everything from the old one and just manually transfer it over. It's a pain, but what are you gonna do? But yeah, I do have some other units out there as well. So, you'll see more than just mechs on the field when we actually get into the game. Actually, the next session is probably it's important to note. Yeah, man, like I love Roll20, but sometimes little things happen where it just is like, by the way, I'm going to make your life more difficult. So speaking of like upcoming games and whatnot, on Monday nights, same channel, we've got our Curse of Strahd stream at 10 p.m. That's 10 p.m. Eastern. I'm actually going to throw up a little schedule card here. So Monday nights at 3 p.m. Pacific, there is Victory, Vigilance, Sacrifice. I actually don't know what system that is, but it's another game that gets streamed through this channel every Monday at 3 p.m. We also have Monday at 7 p.m. is the Curse of Strahd 5th edition game. It's the She is the Ancient module. It gender bends a lot of the characters, and it tweaks things to prevent it from being sort of problematic the way the original Curse of Strahd module is, and that's for the best in the long run. We don't like problematic. And then next Wednesday, every Wednesday, Rachel, she's the one who owns the Stolen Fires channel. She is going to be streaming Dragon Age 2, the video game, at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. But next Thursday will not be Battletech. We're actually going to be doing Battletech every 2 weeks. So the next game is going to be on the 2nd. I've managed to recruit a 4th member of the Lance, but one of the other members won't be available that night. So we're going to do another training simulation, give our new player the opportunity to learn the ropes, get their feet under them before we start the actual campaign. Actual campaign, RP, all that stuff will start on the 16th of next month. So we're just kind of still ramping up to it at this point in time. So, Fantasy Age, system-specific Dragon Age. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, okay, I remember that. I actually play-tested that when I was living in Ireland years ago. It was kind of an interesting experience. But yeah, we've got a full Lance of 4. If we can wrangle a 5th person, we'll have a star. We'll see if that works or not. If not, Lance is just fine. But, yeah, that's the plan. So, thank you all again very much for tuning in. I really don't have anything else to say for the moment. I guess the spiel. So I'm Ben Ravensdale. You can find me on Ravensdale Publishing. Just Google it, you'll find us. I've got a board game that I'm working on that's coming out. I'm also in the Monday Night Curse of Strahd stream, and of course I'm running this every other Thursday. So if you want to find me, there you go. Thanks again very much for tuning in and for hanging out, for chatting. And I hope to see you in 2 weeks for the next Battletech, where you'll get to see some of the new and improved stuff that I've tweaked and refined and honed to a razor's edge in the meantime. Plus, you'll get to see me surprise our Lance with an assault mech or two in the simulator. So, nobody say anything. It's a secret. Shh. Yeah, I think I'm gonna drop him into a simulation, and then midway through whatever fight they have, I think I'm gonna pop an Atlas out there and just be like, by the way, poof, here you go. All right. Thanks again, Mom. Thanks again, Eric. Have a fantastic night, and we will see you on Monday for some Curse of Strahd. Bye, everybody.